Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive. Welcome to New Moon Musings for the new moon on February 20th, 2023. So excited to be tuning in for you guys on this snow moon. So before we get into the reading, I'm going to give a brief description of how you can make this reading work for you throughout the new moon cycle. If you are not new to me and you know this spiel already, go right down into the timestamps below to get to the reading. So here's how the new moon musings reading works. In the new moon, we have different cycles and phases of the moon. We have the new moon, the waxing crescent, the first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last quarter or third quarter, and the waning crescent. The first part of the new moon cycle is the waxing cycle. So we have waxing gibbous, waxing crescent. What does waxing mean? Waxing is the energy of at the new moon, we are deciding what we want to work on. And the waxing is putting the action into what we're trying to create, what we're trying to achieve, a project that we're trying to complete. And then the waning part of it comes after the full moon. So you have new moon to full moon that is the waxing. And then the waning is the full moon to the next new moon. And it doesn't mean that there's no action involved in the waning. It just means you're more reflective about what's going on. You're paying more attention to what action was put in and is it working for us? And do we need to tweak the process as we are working to connect the dots and find the completion to that particular cycle? Each of these phases of the moon represents a different energy that each of us is experiencing in the collective as well as individually. So what you can do is watch the entire reading once all the way through to get the overarching energies for this particular new moon cycle. And then throughout the phases of each moon, you can come back and review each of those phases. Now, it's not an exact science. I read it as though we have basically three days, 2.5 to 4 days. So take the average in the middle, 3 days in each phase. But the moon is a bit temperamental, and so sometimes you can be in one phase and lasting a little longer in that phase, and maybe the next phase will be a little bit shorter. And for your neighbor, it might be the exact opposite. So it's important for you to really tune in and recognize where you're at energetically when you're tapping into these. So check out the timestamps below when you're watching this reading anytime after you've taken in the full message. So for the snow moon, which is happening on February 20th at 2:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I wanted to talk a little bit about what snow moon means. So you can go on Google and look it up and sort of read some of the energies around it, but this is just intuitively what I'm getting around snow moon. Snow is about purity. When snow falls, it dampens the noise and the clutter and all the superfluous sound around us and allows us to really get still and hear our own hearts beating, to hear that inner voice and that inner guidance. So this new moon energy gives you all the opportunity to really go within and connect and be able to hear in ways that maybe you wouldn't be able to hear otherwise what's sort of going on, what your guides want you to say, what your high self is trying to convey to you so that you can, live your highest and best life and really understand during this particular new moon cycle what you need to focus on. So, having said this, we're going to get started with the reading, but there's a funny story around this. So, you're going to notice during this reading today that I am not shuffling cards. Here's why. I actually did this reading for you a week ago, and it was amazing. It was so amazing. Like one of those things where normally I have a little bit of self-doubt and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's gonna love it. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for this to come out. And when I went to go and save it, I recognized that I never hit the record button. So all of this juicy goodness was just lost to the ethers. And I said to the universe, what the F? Why would you do that to me? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And I tried to collaborate with my friend Nikki Sue, the astrologer, about it. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe that's why it didn't turn out. But she's got a crazy busy week, and so do I. And I had to get it recorded now. So here we are. So what I've done, and you'll notice, is I've got the spread all laid out because I took a picture of the cards thinking that we were good to go. And so I've asked my guides today, I've gone into meditation today, to say, please give us the essence and still all of the juicy goodness of what came through in that last reading, so that we can maintain the magic of it and get right to the heart of what's coming through. So, funny story, here's how things are. So that's why I'm not shuffling. The cards are already laid out, and I'm just going to go through each of them. So let's start this new moon with our soul card. And I also chose the Oracle of Visions deck by Cyril Marchetti, and you're going to notice there are no words on these cards. So I also really felt the urge, the call, the need to go fully intuitional, where I'm not, basing it on keywords and getting my stuff from there. Not that changes how I receive the information. It just changes the structure of it, the nature of it. So as we look at this card for the soul card, which is the overarching feeling of the collective, what the collective soul is trying to achieve this month, or has the potential to achieve this month during this new moon cycle, we have this beautiful picture where there's a lot of storm, there's a lot of gray, it's very futuristic. She's in this beautiful blue gown, and she's walking, into the storm, or perhaps out of the storm. And we can see, that the storm is sort of peering, or the sun is peering out of the clouds a little bit. But what is really standing out to me is the rainbow that's coming through. And I feel very much that the soul card for our new moon cycle this month is saying, look for the rainbow. What does a rainbow symbolize? It symbolizes miracles. It symbolizes magic. We think the rainbow shows up only after a rainstorm. It is hope. And I feel like that's the energy that is trying to be conveyed. Where are we at with our hope? We have the ability to take all the gray, all the, I want to say all the heaviness, all of the stuff that we don't really know what to do with, and we can be futuristic about it. We are building a new future, but that future doesn't have to look bleak. That future doesn't have to be so stormy. So this month is really bringing everyone the opportunity to focus on the rainbow and be able to use that rainbow to your advantage. What do you want to contribute to the collective this month? How do you want to show up and shine? And what kind of hope and vision do you want to bring? Because it's all about the miracles. And miracles are around us every single day. It's just a matter of whether we're choosing to see into it or not. The other thing I want to say is she's wearing this beautiful blue gown. Well, blue is connected to the throat chakra. Finding your truth, speaking your truth, learning to communicate in a creative way. And she's doing this amidst a storm. A storm. So, speaking too fast. So what this is basically saying is you're having the opportunity to go into the ocean of emotion. And this is the collective ocean of emotion. And she's confident. She's going boldly into it. She's dressed for success, right? And what she has to say and what she has to communicate is big. It matters. It needs to be seen. It needs to be acknowledged. It needs to be put into action. So I feel like this is a very action-oriented cycle for us around miracles and how we're choosing to bring our own magic to creating those miracles that happen every single day if we but open our eyes and see the truth of the matter. So I want to say, dress for success. Wear your blue gown. With the top hat and the tails, and really feel yourself. Feel into that energy. Okay, so new moon, like I said, February 20th, 2:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have this guy. And this guy always reminds me of the magician. And we often think of magicians as illusionists. But I want to say, especially if you're thinking about it from the tarot perspective, the magician is the number 1 in the card. In this deck, actually it's a 25, so we're going to talk about that because it's a 7. That's important. But I want to discuss him as the magician first off, because when we step into magician energy, what did we say? Miracles can happen every day. There's magic in the rainbow, magic in how the sort of rainbow appears. The magician gets to take advantage of that magic or that miracle that is there and takes the energy and uses it for his own purposes. Now, his own purpose being you guys, right? Each of you is the magician of your own space in your own right. It's reminding you in this new moon energy where we get to, I want to say, really be in a space of working through projects, putting action behind what it is that we are doing and what it is that we're working towards. This guy has all sorts of things at his fingertips, but what's the thing that I'm really feeling into the most? It's the peace stuff. And the peace stuff for me symbolizes freedom. And so I feel in this new moon energy during this particular cycle, it's focusing on our peace. Where are we connecting with our peace? Where are we connecting with peace so that we can feel free to be able to utilize all of the resources that we have at our fingertips? And what I'm really drawn to here is he's got one hand that's going through some of these rings, and the other hand has these little orbs that he's playing with. And then, of course, there's a little bit of stardust here around this triangular shape. And he's got the red and the purple. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. We have a lot of abundance that is, I want to say, abundance potential that is here for us to access. But we have to be red. We have to be rooted and confident that the universe has our front, back, sides, bottom, and top. And we also have to be very connected to our third eye, connected to that inner voice, that inner source that is letting us know, here's how you unlock or unleash the magic that is within in order for you to fly free. We have the opportunity this month to really free our minds from, I want to say, heaviness, from cycles, patterns and cycles. He's got his hand through a ring, potentially breaking through a cycle or taking advantage of a cycle to make it work for him. I feel like this is from a mental perspective, mental energy, the mind. And what is the mind connected to, folks? It's connected to the ego. So that's the difference between the illusionist versus the magician who says, here are all the resources at my fingertips. How do I want to make them work to my advantage for the good of all? One of the things, so I mentioned I was going to talk about 7. So 7 is the number of the year. It is 2023 broken down numerologically, and 7 is all about manifestation. But it's manifesting something right before you take it to the universe. So it's dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And in order for you to step fully into your freedom, you have to really understand what you've got working around you. You have to understand the resources that you have at your fingertips and how to make them work for you. And that's, I feel, what this energy of this sort of 3 days is going to be, February 20th to about the 23rd, is it's really, I want to say, paying attention to the resources that are there, asking the question, how can I make this work? And then bringing it all together and saying, okay, let me experiment. Let me see what's going on. Let me see what's coming up. And it's important that it's coming through in the 2023 year because 7 is the energy that is, I want to say, supporting and creating foundation for all of us collectively to be able to grow and go. And so I feel like it's significant that it's coming up in that new moon energy. And what I decided to do this week, again, is to pull an affirmation for each of the sort of the cardinal points, the new moon, the first quarter, the full moon, and the third quarter. So we got the affirmation, I love my body. And I feel like this is pretty important because when we're talking about, the magic, tapping into the miracles, accessing the resources that we have around us, the body is the psychic antenna. And if you are not grounded, if you are not grounded and connected to your body, you're going to miss a lot of the messaging. You're not going to understand what's coming through, or you're going to get a partial message, and it's going to leave a lot to interpretation. So love your body, bring your body into focus, involve your body in the process. Waxing Crescent, this is coming in around February 23rd, sort of energy. And here's the card that we pulled for this Waxing Crescent. So again, with this particular phase, as I mentioned earlier, the waxing energy is sort of the action-oriented energy that allows us to, move to that height of the full moon, where we're taking advantage of the energy that lifts and supports action. And then the waning sort of, is that cresting. It doesn't mean that anything doesn't happen. It simply means that you're being more reflective in your energy. So as we are moving a little bit more into our action-oriented, and we're deciding what we're working on, and now we're putting that into play, you've got sovereignty. You've got this woman who is sovereign, but she also has a little bit of magic in her. And what I see here is Pandora's box. And, it feels to me like she's releasing these little fairies, or I want to say pixies. So for any of you Harry Potter fans out there, it reminds me of, I can't remember, Lockhart, I think is his name, that he releases all the pixies into the classroom, and Hermione's the one that, waves her magic wand and gets them all back in, because, they're playful and they are troublesome at times. And so when they are, left to their own devices, when they're given a little bit of freedom, sometimes they wreak a little havoc if they're not monitored. And so I feel like what's coming up and coming through for us during this Waxing Crescent energy is, I want to say, a little bit of playful energy, letting Pandora's box out a little bit. And let me say, the Pandora's box analogy or theory or folklore is that, it's bad. You've let Pandora's box out, and now all of the evil comes out into the world, and curiosity killed the cat, so be careful. What I'm feeling here is this is more an invitation to be curious and to look behind the curtain, to see how things are working, especially when we are talking about magic. Because if we are not curious and we're just walking blindly through life, taking everything at face value, we are, I want to say, perpetuating the patriarchal paradigm. We're perpetuating the old energy. And quite frankly, nothing works in the old energy. You are a sovereign being. You have the power and the ability to make changes where you feel that change is necessary, or where you want change. This is what is coming up for her. So she's, and I mean, her sovereignty is a bit ostentatious, but I feel like the reason why that crown is, so big is it's like she's trying to remind herself of her true identity. She's trying to remind herself that she does have this ability to unlock or unleash this magic and this energy within her. So feeling like this Waxing Crescent moon, a lot of you are going to be called, I want to say, in your work environments, I want to say especially corporate, or where you're sitting down at a desk job, to, I want to say, go big or go home with reminding yourself of your true superpowers, your true magic. And don't be afraid to let the playfulness out. Don't be afraid to do things a little bit outside the box. She's wearing this, ginormous crown, not because she wants everybody and his brother to see how important she is, but to remind herself of how important she is. And she needs to do this in a big way, because she's been sort of tampened down. She's been squashed down a little bit. So I feel like this is coming up as a reminder for each of us to go big or go home with our own identities, to be playful and imaginative, and to bring the magic out and to bring the magic through. So in your corporate world, in your work area, I feel also like there's going to be some icky, sticky stuff that's coming up where I feel like a lot of workplaces are going to be pulling nonsense and shenaniganery. And it's going to be really important that you, I want to say, stand in your own power. So let's see what the next card has to say, because I feel like it's going to be sort of bleeding into that next time phase. So we have the first quarter moon, and this is happening on February 22nd. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so this is coming up, and I love this card because, you know, you see this beautiful ballerina. She's in the fetal position, which means that she's tired, she's a bit vulnerable, she's resting a bit. I feel like she's feeling a bit deflated, a little bit frustrated that she's not where she thinks she's supposed to be. And up here, she's envisioning where she wants to go. This is the goal. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm just so tired. I feel like I'm going in circles. So she's laying in a circle. I'm going in circles, and I'm not able to really get, to this place. It's not in the spotlight yet. And I feel like what is happening for all of us in this particular in this particular phase, is there's an energy around how we're shining our light. And I feel like this is an invitation for each of us to really step into, I want to say, not caring for what anyone else thinks, says, or does. You have your particular superpower. You have your particular way that you shine. And we all do. We have multiple ways that we shine. It's tuning out, so I'm going to say snow moon. It's tuning out the noise and the sounds from everyone else and really focusing on the vision. Keep your eye on the prize. That's what I'm really feeling here is the message. And especially for those of you at work, when there's a lot of noise, a lot of superfluous stuff that's going around and people are causing nonsense and shenaniganery, you want to keep your eye on the prize and you want to protect yourself. Now, I don't mean to imply that dun dun dun, there's some kind of horrible stuff that's coming through and people are, being awful. Sometimes corporate is like that, where you have some, toxic environments, but not every work environment is like that. And if you're not in a corporate world, I feel like you're going to feel this a little bit to a lesser degree. But the corporate world is changing. And the corporate world, it has been in the spotlight for a really long time and has kept others from shining their lights because they're hogging the spotlight. They're taking it all up. This is you now saying, you know what? I'm not going to feel defeated any longer. I'm just going to take a rest and I'm going to keep my eye on the prize. And I'm going to break out of patterns and cycles that aren't working for me so that I can really shine my light. She's got a ball and a wand in front of her. And the ball reminds me of pentacle energy, and the wand is fire. So connecting to your passions and bringing your passions into the physical, into the realm of the material. This is a time to manifest and take action steps towards your manifestations. So keeping your eye on the prize. At work, when all of the nonsense and shenaniganery is going on, you keep your eye on the prize. You keep doing what it is that you need to do. Don't pay attention to all the other stuff that's going on. Let the chips fall where they may. You do you. I feel like that's what's really important. And understand that, she's trying to cradle and protect herself. This is an invitation to expand. And if you look at the two figures, she's curled up in a ball here and she's expansive and wide open and tall like a tree. So this is what you're being invited to do, shining your light. But in order to shine your light, you have to expand. You have to bring yourself out into the world. The affirmation is, I am free to make my wishes come true. Well, look at that. So going big or going home, using your magic, keeping your eye on the prize, because this is what you really want. This is your wish, and you are free to make that wish come true. You don't have to ask for anybody's permission to do anything. This is about leading with your heart, leading with your soul flame energy. And you don't give a fig for whether other people like it or not. You're doing it. And you're doing it because the collective needs it, and because your particular workspace or the place where you're contributing also needs it. Mr. Neo approves. So now we have our Waning Gibbous, which is on March 2nd, in and around March 2nd. Oh, I love this. Okay. So some of it is coming back to me from the previous reading. So I want to say as well, I haven't been looking at the numbers here, but this is a 13, which is a 4. And the previous 2 cards, we had a 42 and a 48. So there's 4 coming around. 4 is foundational. I definitely feel like the 7 and the 4, they both have a lot of manifestation qualities to them. So the fact that we started with a 7 and we've got a lot of 4 energy in this first part of the cycle, we're establishing a new foundation. And of course we have to establish a new foundation if we're bringing a new vision to life, if we're allowing the magic of miracles to come in and to shape our world, to shape our new direction and our new focus, and to allow us to expand into the energy that we have access to, the resources to. So this card is coming through, and I feel very much the message is about, what is she doing? She's sewing. What is she using to sew? She's using the rainbow to sew. She's using the miracle. She's using the magic. She's using the hope. And I feel like this particular window of time, you're going to notice that there's a lot that you have access to that you weren't expecting to have access to. This feels like for a lot of you, dreams and plans that you had that you thought were going to be a couple of years down the road, suddenly the opportunity presents itself. How do you want to use it? I also am drawn to the fact that, sometimes this can get a little complicated or convoluted. Look at how many different spools of thread she has in order to make the rainbow. It takes a lot of different materials to bring about the miracle, to notice the miraculous. You're being invited this particular period of time to use the miracle, to work with the miracle as the energy. So I feel like there are going to be some big miracles, there are going to be some tiny sort of everyday miracles, and there are going to be miracles in between that each and every one of us is going to have the opportunity to work with in our individual lives and spaces. The ones that are the small miracles every day, those are the ones that we have to kind of open our eyes and pay attention to a little bit more. We have to look for it a little bit because miracles are around us every single day. Now, when you look at her face, I would say she's not necessarily like calm and fully in her, her creative space and creative flow and fully enjoying herself. She's kind of a little bit in her head. She's working with this energy, but she's got a vision for what it is that she wants to create. And she's kind of holding on to that vision a little too tightly rather than allowing the creative process to flow. I feel like this is sort of the commentary on miracles happen every single day in big and small ways. We have to be open to looking for them. So she's looking for the big miracles. She's expecting the big aha moment. The bells and whistles. This happens for a lot of people when they're, sort of expanding into their psychic gifts. And at first you get the big aha, and then you're seeking that always. But what ends up happening, which is a good thing, is things get integrated. It's no longer the big, booming, voice from the sky kind of thing that tells you the information. It's now a gentle knowing because it's integrated in the body. So I want to say there are a lot of you who are going to feel a bit scattered because you're working with a lot of different things. You're juggling a lot of different things in the air, and you have expectation around what it is that you're going to produce. And I'm going to say to you, let go of expectation, get out of your head, be in the process of creation, because the rainbow is yours to work with. It's not going anywhere. It's within you and it's all around you. So this is the opportunity to make it work for you, or to learn how to work with that energy to alchemize, to create something, I want to say perhaps a little more practical, something that can be more tangible and in the now. But in order to do that, you got to get out of your head. You got to trust in the process a little bit. I'm feeling like from a family perspective, you're going to have a lot of differing opinions. Rainbows also symbolize diversity, and we need a lot of diversity in our lives to allow the newness, to allow the the new creative approach to life collectively and individually to come into the mix. You never know when you're going to encounter someone that gives you the missing piece to the puzzle that you've been looking for. You know, we all collaborate with one another in really creative ways every single day. We don't necessarily, attach the label collab with that, but as we're connecting with one another, we're exchanging energy, and there's different things that happen all the time. You never know when someone says something and it triggers the inspiration for you, and you go, this is great. Let me go home and work with this, right? So appreciating the little miracles every day and the big miracles that come up, and not being afraid to be diverse, or not being afraid to diversify and bring in new people, bring in new thoughts, bring in new approaches. It's getting out of the head and getting more into the heart space and the soul space. Big, big stuff. Okay, so now we're at our full moon. Full moon this month is, or in this cycle, is March 7th, and it is a worm moon. So it's at 7:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me talk about the worm moon. I tried to do a little bit of research on this and couldn't find anything that resonated. So let's talk about worms. Worms move through soil. They create tunnels. They create holes. They aerate the soil, which means they're bringing oxygen to the soil to nourish the soil, to make it fertile for things to grow. They're creating space where there once wasn't space. So, if we're looking at worm moon and we're looking at full moon energy, and the full moon energy is the peak or the height of your, I want to say, action. This is where things really get done. This is where a lot of, it's like the last push kind of thing. A lot of energy can come together. Things can congeal. The last piece of the puzzle gets fit into the mix, and you get the full vision, or you understand the direction of where you're going. You reach that next level. So as you're working into that, what do we need to know about that full moon energy? Well, this is an interesting card. So I want to say to you, this guy, he's full of knowledge. He's full of wisdom. He's got these scrolls in his hand. He's got his little spectacles. He's got books. He's keeping it all to himself. And what I'm feeling really, what's coming through around this is a lot of you are going to, I want to say, have a lot of ideas, have a lot of knowledge, have a lot of vision around what's going on. You want to keep it to yourself. You don't want to tell everyone about it until you have, I want to say, gotten your hands in the soil, until you have made room. You want to go home and tinker with it. You want to think about it and figure out the process of it, or put it on paper. What is it going to look like before I announce it to the world? Because I feel like the ideas and what is being birthed here at this time within each of us individually, yes, collectively, but individually, I feel it's a very fertile time. It's a time where you are creating space for these ideas, for this new process, for this new way of being, for more of your light to shine out. And you want to protect that idea, that energy, that growth. Because quite honestly, while many people in your life are very well-meaning, people come at things from their own filter. That's why we have judgment. Someone, I can remember this as clear as day. I'll just give this as an analogy. Years and years and years ago, my mother really struggled with the fact that I decided to go into music instead of into psychology, to be a psychologist, which is what I had, been gearing towards for a long time and was working in the field and all the rest of it. And when I came home after being completely burned out from, just a lot of stuff and social anxiety and just not understanding myself and not having anyone around me who really truly understood me, I came home and I felt a little bit like a failure. And she kept trying to put me into, you should go and be a pharmaceutical rep. They make so much money and it's easy and you get to dress up really pretty and you get to talk to a bunch of people. And of course, in her mind, you get to talk to doctors. So, you'll be able to find your partner. I mean, well-meaning, but very old school, very, sort of traditionalist. Well, when I told her what some of my ideas were around what I might like to do next, she freaked out. And what did that do for me? I didn't have enough confidence at that time to trust that what I wanted to do was really going to work out for me. So I listened to her and I pursued a different path. And this is what I feel this card is about in full moon, is it's saying, keep your countenance. He's a little hoity about it, but I feel like he's in protective mode. Yeah, he's holding a lot of information. A lot of it is a bit disorganized right now. He's trying to figure it all out, but he needs the space to be able to do so. So the worm moon is providing each of us space to maybe even hermit a little bit, to go within and to get some things on paper, or to see the vision very clearly and to lay out an action plan. I feel like that's hugely important during this particular time. Also, it's a 10, which is new beginnings based on an already established foundation. You are getting ready to bring something new into your individual life. We are also getting ready to bring something new collectively. Oh yeah, I heard something. I think in the last reading I picked up on, and I don't remember where it was in the reading, but it was definitely the first half here of this cycle, that there's something coming up collectively around a truth revealed, something that comes to light that people are gonna go, ooh, what are we supposed to do with that? Like, how do we navigate that? And I feel like that's also influencing some of this energy that's coming through. So just looking at the cards right now in the layout, I want to say maybe the first quarter is kind of where some of that's coming from. But I feel like in the full moon energy, because we are going into new beginnings based on an already established foundation, that's also one of the reasons why you're not wanting to, tell everybody and his brother about your fabulous idea or your plans, because you do not want the judgment. You do not want, whatever the current activities or the current energies to influence what you can see outward on the other side to be something that's it's going to be really helpful or really beneficial. So keep that in mind. So the affirmation for the full moon: build a fairy house. There is magic everywhere. So feeling very much here that this is coming to light, because yes, this card is saying keep a lot of your ideas to yourself, but enact a plan, put something together, really think about how you are building on something, a foundation that has been established, and access your magical resources from wherever you can get it. Especially if you're hermiting, it means you're not necessarily going out and about and connecting with the world in wild, weird ways at this time. You're doing a lot of work internally, or you're doing a lot of work externally in your internal environment, keeping it close. So there's magic everywhere that you can access to be able to assist you. And it doesn't necessarily have to come from, I want to say, outside of you in the collective. I want to say, although it could, but I want to say it's looking in your own environment. So your home environment, or the work office space that you work in, or we can be talking about the internal environment. What resources, what knowledge do I already have access to? What experiences have I already gone through that apply to this plan that I'm formulating? All right, now we've got our Waning Gibbous, and Waning Gibbous is coming up March 10th, in and around March 10th. Oh, interesting. Okay, so time. Time is a construct that is only connected to Earth. At least as far as we know in this galaxy, in our solar system and in this galaxy. We have applied time. And what does time do? Time gives us limitation. Time gives us restriction. Time also gives us motivation and perspective. And I feel like as we're looking at this particular card and we're talking about the Waning Gibbous, I feel like what we're all going to be feeling collectively is this, okay, based on what just happened recently, and we're all kind of confused about what are we supposed to do with that? Like, we got to do something. What are we supposed to do with that? And time is of the essence. There's an invitation collectively for everybody to kind of put their heads together and come up with a solution. Now, I don't know that the solution that we're all going to come up with is going to be the be all and end all, or it's going to be, I want to say that the complete scope of what it could be, but it's definitely going to be better than what we have. And I feel like, stepping stones, but it's all about divine order and timing. I'm also really drawn in this card right now to the sand and the idea of, when you try to hold sand in your hand, it's hard. It's kind of like trying to hold water in your hand. You need a container to sort of be able to hold it. Otherwise, it slips through your fingers. So I'm feeling that there's a lot of energy during this 3-day window that is about the fluidity of time, the illusion of time. So it's an invitation for all of you, and maybe let's make this a little bit of an experiment for this next 3 days in the Waning Gibbous, is what would my life be like if I didn't have to live to the schedule or live to the clock? Let me set up this 3-day period of time where I don't have to worry about time. So let's say, okay, there's a particular time that you got to pick up the kids from school. We got to da-da-da-da-da. Maybe this is a time to shift things up. Maybe you homeschool the kids for 3 days, or maybe the kids go and stay with a relative for those 3 days, and you get the relative to take the kids to school or whatever. It's like a little staycation for them. And it gives you the opportunity to explore what your day might look like if you weren't working towards a schedule. And this is not about taking vacation. It's about learning how to be fluid and flexible with time as the illusion. And notice how much you get done when you're not looking at the 9 to 5. How much it is that you get done when you're not constantly interrupted by this timer and that meeting and this previously scheduled appointment. It's really understanding, okay, I'm going to just show up. I'm going to wake up when my body naturally wakes up. I'm going to, maybe feel into, and what is that really that we're talking about? It's the cycles of the moon. Back in the day before people had watches, people paid attention to their days through the position of the sun and the position of the moon in the sky. So I feel like this is an invitation to explore the fluidity of time, or explore time as an illusion. Notice how time limits you and restricts you, and play around with that. Stretch the boundaries a little bit. If you can't do it for 3 days, maybe try it for a day or even a half day. But really set the intention that you're playing around with the idea of time. I feel like the purpose of this coming through in this new moon cycle is because whatever you are, we're now kind of in the waning cycle, so it's more reflective in nature. Not that we're not still doing things, but we're being more reflective about it. And so it's an opportunity to reflect on these constructs that we live with. And I forget which card that was. I think it might have even been the first one, but it's like questioning. It's okay to be curious. It's okay to question things that are coming at us, right? We're creating something new. We're not going based on the old. We're not sheep, right? We're not sheep following the shepherd blindly, through the fields or wherever it goes. We are the shepherd. We are choosing the path. And in order to do that, we have to be willing to question certain constructs that have been tried and true for a really long time. And you might question it and get curious about it and discover, let's not reinvent the wheel, it still works. And there's a certain level of limitation, but I'm able to to break out of the bounds or the boundaries of that for myself and be able to use that and work for me. Maybe you do the curious thing and you discover, this just doesn't work for me. It may work for other people, but this just doesn't work for me. And here's how I work, best instead, or here's how I work better. So I want to say, don't ask for permission. If you have to ask for forgiveness later, by all means, but don't ask for permission to explore those aspects of you and to find out what your limiting beliefs are and find out what you truly connect with. I feel like that's really important around time and limitation and the illusion of time and fluidity through time. Interesting. Okay, so now we are at our last quarter moon, and the last quarter moon is showing up on in and around March 14th. Oh, I love this. Okay, so we've got a 33. I didn't even look at the number there. Oh, another 4. We've got tons of 4s going through here. So there's 1s, there's 4s, and 7s. Oh, I just noticed our soul card is also a 7. So yeah, 1s, 4s, and 7s. Tons of manifesting energy. Foundation. So manifest based on a solid foundation and manifest new beginnings. That's the gist of it all. Okay. So 33, we've got a master number, and it's ascended master energy. It's also highly creative energy. So let's just look at the card for a second. Miss Ballerina is feeling herself. She's nice and relaxed. She's calm. She's poised. She's got one foot in her ocean of emotion. There are koi fish in this pond, or in this, this ocean of emotion, or this water. It's smooth, it's clear, she can look down into it and see exactly what she needs to see, but she's not looking down. She's got her foot in there, she trusts. She trusts source. Koi fish, good luck, abundance. We got a card earlier, I think, where I was talking a little bit about abundance as well. I feel like this 3-day window is saying to you, let's relax, let's take a break. It's a pregnant pause. So what does pregnant pause mean? It means there's stuff going on. There's stuff germinating, gestating. There's action happening. But we're just taking a pause to allow things to unfold naturally. The abundance is here. All I have to do if I get hungry or if I need something is I need to just bring my focus to that and call up a fish. And I got what I need. The other thing that I'm really drawn to here is this beautiful blue bird. And I don't know a whole lot about birds, but I keep hearing the word kingfisher. So I don't know if this is a kingfisher. It could be something else. If you're a bird person, I apologize. But I'm hearing kingfisher in my head, so I'm going to read it intuitively. And what I'm hearing around this is kingfisher, sovereignty. Sovereignty speaking into your mind, having a conversation. But the two of them are not speaking. They're sitting in their own energies and enjoying their energies. The kingfisher is eyeing the fish. He's looking at the abundance, and she's looking at him and saying, I know you want the fish. Whenever you're hungry, have at it. Go for it. But understand that it's my fish. It's my pond. So I'm inviting you in. I'm giving you permission to come in, or I'm not going to give you permission to come in. But there's camaraderie here. There's friendship. There's companionship going on. Also, I keep hearing telepathy. And I feel like part of that is because he's blue. It's communication, right? So there's telepathy going on. So much can be said through silence. So much can be said through silence. Why? Well, because silence is pregnant with energy. And depending on how you read the energy, or depending on the type of energy that is sitting in that silence, it speaks volumes. So I'm kind of talking all around this card today, but I'm really feeling like this is going to be a lot of the energy that you're going to be dealing with during this. We're in our last quarter moon here, is the concept of, what am I saying if I'm not saying anything at all? If I'm sitting in silent space with another person, what is the actual conversation that's going on? Am I calm and trusting that abundance is with me at all times? Or am I not feeling into that abundant space? If I'm not feeling into that abundant space, I need to step up into that, because the universe is letting you know, hey, you're making your own magic. You're your own ascended master. There's a lot of lesson here. There's a lot to be said for not saying anything at all, but being aware of everything that is available around you. All of the abundance that comes in the resource that is around you. And taking a break and going within, reconnecting and being calm about that. A lot of people, especially, workaholics, or people who, identify through their work, it's hard for them to let go of something and say, oh my God, well, the world is the world is going to stop if I'm not here to catch this or that or the other thing. No, work-life balance. Chill out. Take a break. You will be more creative. You will be more, more in flow when you've taken that little bit of a break and you've taken some silence to receive information in a different way, different form of communication. Sorry it's so scattered, but that's where it is. The affirmation is, I am grounded and creative. So we talked about the creation. And the grounded piece, she's calm. She's relaxed. She knows that she's got everything she needs. She's sitting on this park bench in the middle of the water. It's a solid bench. It's concrete or marble. So it's sustaining her. It's withholding her, or holding her up. It's not breaking. It's not, disheveled. It's not in poor repair. It's the universe that's got your front, back, sides, bottom, and top. So I love my body was our first card affirmation. This is the last card affirmation. I'm grounded and creative. Connect to the body. Remember, our body is our psychic antenna. Sometimes we need a little break from all of that stimulus. How do we get there? We ground ourselves. But the invitation here is not to ground yourself, I want to say, into Mother Earth. It's actually grounding yourself into, I want to say, the calmness, the smoothness, and the abundance of your emotion. Again, she's not overly concerned. She's calm. She's feeling herself. There's confidence there. So that's where you want to connect to that grounding, because that's how that creativity is going to flow. All right, and we are finally at our Waning Crescent, and it's a 1, folks. And this actually is the Magician in the Major Tarot. So I think that's really interesting that we started off with a Magician card and we're ending with a Magician card, or the Fool card. Actually, this can represent the Fool as well because of the hat that she has, but it's the number 1. And in the tarot, the traditional tarot, the Magician is the number 1. So I'm reading it as both, and feeling very much that, once again, we've got these peace doves. So there are 3 opportunities. I want to say there are 3 opportunities for you to explore your own freedom in very unique ways. And I feel each of us is going to have these 3 opportunities coming up in our individual paths. And I feel like 2 are going to be more on a personal level, and 1 is going to be more on a how I show up in the world level. So career or volunteerism, or how you serve, how you show up and serve. It's interesting because there's 1 that's really in the light, close to the light of the box, and then the other 2 are sort of flying free. I feel like the 1 that's closest to the light definitely feels like it's connected to work, and I feel that there's a very great possibility that the majority of you will be recognized in some way or have some level of visibility that increases or heightens around how you're choosing to serve. So don't be surprised, sorry about the earthquake, don't be surprised if someone acknowledges you, shines a light on a way that you helped them, a way that you supported them. They might give you a gift card. They might give you a nice little Hallmark card message, a nice little thank you email. They could also, have you stand out in front of a crowd and acknowledge you publicly. So I want to say, just be open to allowing others to show their appreciation for the work that you do. Now, the energy of this particular time, what I'm really drawn to here is her vulnerability. So she's got this, again, she's got the purple and the red robe that is wrapped around her, but she doesn't feel that it's secure enough. Like, she's afraid that it's going to fall off. So she's protecting her heart. She's protecting her chest. She's in a protective mode. She's trying to hang on so that nobody can see. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, right? I don't want anyone to see the true me. So I feel that there's going to be a lot of issue around vulnerability coming up, feeling vulnerable. And we had this earlier in our first quarter moon with the ballerina who's feeling vulnerable about her mission or her choice or her goals and whether or not she's going to be able to reach them, and how other people are, peeing on her parade. Well, this is coming up now to really say, she's standing up and she's standing tall. I feel like the vulnerability piece that is going to be coming up collectively, that we're all going to feel individually, is an invitation, I want to say, to stand tall and proud and to recognize I'm shedding this concept of shame in my life and in my space. I'm no longer going to fear that, because the material that I have on me, I'm grounded and I've got my third eye. Quite honestly, we need all the chakras, but if you have to eliminate any chakras, or if you want to put a focus on the chakras, you want like the first and the last, or pretty close to the last. What do we really need? You need to be present and focused in your moment, grounded. This is my now. This is all I have. And I need to be able to tap into my intuition, because my intuition will give me exactly what it is I need at any given moment. I don't have to know where I'm going. I just need to be able to tap into that voice, because that voice is going to let me know, okay, go left here or go right there. So these are the two chakras, or these are the two concepts that I want to say we really need in order to be able to go off and live our lives and do our thing and be successful at it. So the vulnerability piece, I feel, is shedding an old identity and stepping into the fact of, I'm packing light because I don't need all these things and all this stuff and all of this validation, accolades, this confirmation of my humanity. It's no, I'm shedding that identity. And what do I really need? I need to feel connected and grounded to where I'm standing because of the foundation that I've created. Number 4, I'm starting something new. And I need to trust my inner guidance, because my inner guidance is going to give me resources, ideas, people, situations that I need to interject myself with, or people that I need to reach out to that are going to have the right answers for me. You're going to get all of that in your now. So be present, be focused in your now. That is the key to freedom for this new moon cycle. All right, guys. Well, it was a different reading. I can tell that there were essences of the original reading that came through, but I have to trust in the process and, practice what I preach. And this is the message and this is the energy that needed to come through. So I hope you enjoyed your new moon musings. Again, feel free to come back to this at any time throughout the month. Check out the timestamps and just sort of see where things are at, how you're leaning into that energy. Always a pleasure to connect with you guys in this way. Enjoy your new moon, and we will see you next time. Transform well.